Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. I am here today to explain my new version of the Shiranui deck, or as I like to call it, Shiranui Blades 2.0. Now, there is an original version that is not mine. It is a copied version that I did not realize that I had until literally like half hour ago. So I had just built my deck into my new version of this deck into Nexus that I want it to be when it's done. But without further ado, we shall be going through each of the cards and what each of them will do and how they benefit me. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. Now we'll start with, like usual, the monsters and work our way down except this time we have a side deck down here that we will get into. Now, note that for the most part, most of the cards in the side deck are mostly kind of like aesthetic cards that are just there because I want them to be there. They're not actually really meant to benefit the deck in any way. For example, like the Winged Dragon Ra, not really any way it's going to help you with this deck. But yeah, so let's begin. Now we have one Shiranui Samurai, which its effect is you can banish one zombie type monster from your graveyard. This card gains 600 check. If it does, banish any monster that battled this card. After damage calculation, these effects last until the end of the turn. If this card is banished, you can target one Shiranui monster in your graveyard except Shiranui Samurai and add it to your hand. You can use each effect of Shiranui Samurai once per turn. Alright, right off the bat, great effect. And I actually really like this effect because a lot of these cards revolve around banishing and putting stuff back into the graveyard, so this definitely helps. I'm debating on putting in a second copy of it, but for right now I'm leaving it at one. Now we have Gozuki and Mizuki. Gozuki sends a zombie type to the graveyard, whereas once per turn, whereas Mizuki, when it's in the graveyard, you banish it and summon a zombie back. So overall really simple effects. Now this here is one of my favorite combos that I like to mess around with my opponent. The Fire and Ice Hand combo, because if you kill the Fire Hand, you take out a monster with him, and then he comes back with the Ice Hand. And if an Ice Hand dies, well, he takes a spell trap card down with it, and then summons a Fire Hand, and it goes around for a while. It's a fun little trick, and I love using it, because it just all in all pisses off my opponents, and I like screwing with them. Alright, next up we have the Shironuri Spiritualist, or Shiranui Squire. Now, when this card is summoned, you summon the Shironuri Spectral Sword from your hand or deck. You can not special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except zombie monsters, so all in all, you're not really having you don't really have any other zombie type monsters in this deck. So besides like the Necrosoul Dragon, Xyz Dark Rebellion, and Excision Knight, that's basically it. Literally everything else, not counting the side deck. So yeah, it's a simple effect and I like it. Shiranui Spiritualist basically gives you a Shiranui from when it's summoned from your hand or graveyard, except Shiranui Spiritual Master. But banish it when it leaves the field. But if this card is banished, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it. All in all, simple effect, and I like it because it gives you a Shiranui monster really quickly, seeing as this deck has a lot of them. Next we have the 3 Pyramid Turtles, so when one's destroyed, they keep summoning them out until all 3 are destroyed, or if you want to at any point, instead of summoning a Pyramid Turtle, you can summon any zombie type monster with 2,000 or less defense points, which for the most part can basically be anything in this deck, because everything has less than 2,000 defense points. Next up we have the Shiranui Smith. Now there was originally 2 in this deck, but I decided to side deck it because I don't want to have more than one. So if this card is sent to the field, from the field to the graveyard as a single material, you can have one Shiranui card from your deck to your hand, so Shiranui Smith. It's a simple effect, and if it's banished, you can activate this effect this turn. Zombie type monsters you control cannot be destroyed about, which is really useful in terms of combat. Next up, Shiranui Solitaire, who is someone who I don't really know about this too much. You can tribute one zombie type monster, slash summon another zombie tuner from your deck with 0 defense. If this card is banished, you can target one banished Shiranui's monster, except Solitaire, or up to 2 instead of Shiranui Style Synthesis. If Style Synthesis is on the field, special summon them both. And you can only use it once per turn, either effect once per turn. Next we have the Spectral Sword Shade, where you contribute this card, select 2 zombie type monsters that are banished and accepts the shade, including Shiranui monster in its name, and then special summon them in defense mode but negate their effects. So basically it's a good way to get monsters back on the field. Then you have Spectral Sword, where basically it's a normal card until it's in the graveyard. Because on the next turn, you can synchro summon using monsters from your graveyard as material. You can only use one monster though, so just note that. So like for example, if you wanted to get like something like Star Eater on the field, you'd have to have like what's his face? Actually, I don't even think any of these would work in this context. I think, okay, different example. Sorry. Shiranui Sun Saga, you'd have to have like something like Shogun Saga in the graveyard already. That was my fault. Alright, next up we have Shiranui Sensei, which is something that's new that I saw and I kind of like, because when you control 2 or more Shiranui monsters in your field with different names, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. However, when it's banished, you can target 1 Shiranui monster you control, 1 zombie type monster you control, it gains 600 attack until the end of the turn. Which is very, very handy. Next we have Zombie Necronize. If a level 5 or higher monster is on the field, target 1 monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. So that's very good if you need a monster. Then Shiranui Story Saga. Who controls a monster, discard 1 monster, zombie monster, summon a Shiranui for name from your deck or graveyard. You also not special summon monsters except for zombie types for the rest of the turn. Now we have Zombie Power Stroke, which is basically chooses 1 zombie type monster on the field, it either gains or loses 1000 attack points. Then we have Style Solemnity. This card becomes Style Synthesis while activated. After turn, you can activate 1 of these effects, banish 1 zombie type monster from your graveyard. Well, basically, it's pretty much the same thing as Style Synthesis, where except it's banishing a zombie type monster from your graveyard, normal and special summons. The normal and special summons of your zombie monsters can be negated for the rest of the turn. Target 1 zombie type monster you control, banish it, then you can send 1 zombie type monster with 0 defense from your deck to the graveyard. Alright, now we have Zombie World, which just turns everything into zombies, and you need to play tribute summon monsters that aren't zombies. Seeing as there's nothing in here that needs tribute summoning, that doesn't really matter to me. It wouldn't matter to me anyway, because I'm pretty sure everything that would have been level 5 or higher would have been a zombie type monster. Not counting Raw. Next up we have Style Synthesis, which is a field spell. Once per turn, when you control no monsters, you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard to activate 1 of the following effects. Target 1 zombie type monster with 0 defense in your graveyard and special summon it. Then you can target or target 1 of your banished zombie type monsters with 0 defense and return to the graveyard. You can only activate 1 Shiranui Style Synthesis once per turn. Alright, now we're going to roll quickly into the trap cards and then quickly get to the extra deck. We have Shiranui Style Synthesis, Shiranui Style Swallow Slash, which is basically tribute 1 zombie monster and then target 2 cards on the field to destroy them. Then you banish 1 Shiranui monster from your deck. Relatively simple effect. Then we have Haunted Shrine if you control no monsters, which would probably happen a lot, seeing as a lot of these cards revolve around killing themselves and bringing them back into the graveyard. You can target You can target 1 zombie monster you control, 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon it. If you control no monsters, you can banish this card and then do the same thing again. Finally, we have Return of the Zombies. Banish 1 zombie monster on the field, then special summon 1 from your graveyard. Basically, Haunted Shrine, except it pays a bit more of a price. Alright, now let's roll into the side deck. I'm joking. Let's get into the extra deck. So we have, for our links, we have Shiranui Skill Saga Supremacy, which requires 2 monsters to summon, zombie type monsters to summon it. Synchro monsters you control cannot be destroyed by effects. Fire monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. During your opponent's turn, this is a quick effect, you can target 1 of your banished synchro zombie monsters, special summon it to the zone this card points to. You can only use the effect of Skill Saga Supremacy once per turn. All in all, really useful effect. Excision Knight is not the best card, but it has a really good effect because just basically is a tactical nuke to the entire field. Because basically, if your opponent has more total cards in their hand and field than you do, you can touch 1 material from the card and then casually just blow up the entire field except for this monster. But however, your opponent will take no further damage for that turn. Now you have Dark Rebellion Siege Dragon. Again, not the best card for the deck, but I like it because it has a good effect where it detaches both Siege materials and steals half the attack points of 1 monster on the field. And it's permanent. Now we have the Shiranui Sword Saga, which is another new card to me because I'm just now knowing about it. You can only special summon Sword Saga once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can target 1 monster on the field, change its battle position. If this card is banished, you can special summon one Shiranui token. This is very useful because more tokens equal more synchro summoning. Then we have the original Shiranui Samurai Saga. We're going to have a lot of sagas in here, just like you know now. Alright. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can target one banished zombie type monsters from your deck, shuffle it into the deck from your banished zombie type monsters, and then shuffle it back into the deck. And if you do, change all the monsters to defensive turn, with less attack equal to that monster. This card's banished, you can target one monster your opponent controls, it loses 500 attack. Alright, now we got the Squire Saga, which is basically kind of like the evolution of Shiranui Squire, except with Saga at the end. You can only special one of these per turn. Once per turn, you can banish one face-up monster you control or in the graveyard, and then apply the effects in sequence depending on what monster it was before it was banished. If it was any of these zombie, you can have all monsters you control gain 300 attack, fire, destroy one spell trap card on the field, or synchro, destroy one monster on the field. So in other words, if you basically banish something like, I don't know, Scum Saga, basically all three effects activate. Next we have the Crimson Blair. Isn't a zombie monster, but is actually very, very good for something like this, because he has a really OP effect where he basically destroys, if he destroys a monster in battle, opponent cannot normal or special summon high level monsters. So if like your opponent is like running Blue Eyes, he basically just completely locks them down because he can't do anything like with stone or anything. It's really, really good, and I really, really like using it. Then we have the Shogun Saga, where when it's special summon, you can banish one zombie type monster from your graveyard. This card gains attack equal to the banished monster original attack until the end of this turn. This card is on the field, destroyed by battle or card effect. You can target one of your banished zombie type monsters with 0 defense and return to the graveyard, which again applies to a lot of these cards. And for our final saga, we have the Sun Saga, where when you special summon, return any number of zombie synchro monsters that were banished into the extra deck. Then you can destroy cards equal to the number of cards returned, which in other means a lot of these kind of get banished and stuff. But yeah, for our final synchro, we have the Star Eater, which isn't really meant to be in the deck. He's more just kind of an aesthetic, and I like him because this deck is very synchro heavy. Must be synchro summoned and cannot be summoned by other ways. This card is synchro summon, cannot be negated when synchro summon. Cards and effects cannot be activated. If this card attacks, it is unaffected by other card effects until the end of the damage deck. So kind of like Ancient Gear Golem, which I really like. Except, well, instead of preventing him from activating effects, they're unaffected. And for our final extra deck monster, we have the Dragon Necro Nether Soul Dragon, where it requires 2 zombie type monsters to be fusion summoned. Where there's going to be a polymerization in here. I know, I didn't put polymerization in here. There's going to be poly in here soon. Must be summoned, fusion summoned. Monsters cannot be destroyed by battle with this card at the end of the damage step. If this card is battle a monster, that monster's attack becomes 0. And you summon a Dark Soul token equal to that monster's level, attack, and all that stuff. Very fancy. Ooh. And I'm going to just throw this in here and quickly throw in poly. So give me 1 second. Poly. Sort. Save. Ta-da! Problem solved. Alright, now we will roll into the side deck, which is the last set of cards. So obviously we have the Egyptian God card parts, which I'm pretty sure for the most part everyone knows how they work. Especially Rahan, and I like the new design for Rahan, it's really nice. We've already run through the Spirit Master as well as Smith. We have also run through Sun Saga. Now let's run through the Blood Mephist, which is a aesthetic card. Once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, you could inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for each card your opponent controls. Each time your opponent sets a spell or trap card, inflict 300 points of damage. So in other words, it's a burn card. Then we have one of my favorite cards, the Crazy Box, where basically he has a few chances where he really screws you over, and then a few chances where he won't. This card cannot attack, however. You can detach one Xyz material and roll a 6-sided die, and we will see what happens. For example, if we roll a 1, have your life points. A 2, draw a card. 3, your opponent discards a card. 4, negate the effects of one face-up monster on the field until the end phase. Now, this is something that I actually want to recommend. If like for example, your opponent doesn't have many monsters on the field, or monsters are much weaker than Crazy Box, and you roll a 4, negate the Crazy Box's effect. because the effect wears off at the end of the turn, and he'll be able to attack during that turn. So it's actually very, very good, and it's very smart to pull off. Then we have a roll of 5, where you destroy one card on the field, and a 6, basically it kamikazes itself. Now we have a Plural Sword Dragon, which I'm pretty sure everyone who plays the meta now knows this card by now. It's pretty popular, as well as the Plural Dragon. Actually, a fun fact, the Plural Dragon that I got, I pulled from a Christmas pack back when it was still like literally one of the most rarest cards in the game at the time. And I found that absolutely hilarious and awesome. And then we have Called Mummy, where basically if you have no monsters, you control and you can special summon a zombie monster from your hand. We've already gone through Style Synthesis. Then we have one of the most menacing cards in the game, the Shiranui Calcos, which obviously everyone in the show and game knows it, but you can pause the video because I'm not explaining it. Alright, Haunted Shrine. If you control no monsters, oh wait a minute, we already went through this. So yeah. Alright, well that will cover it for the deck. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and let me know how you thought of this new way of me recording my videos in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.